Hey everyone, I'm Devin, your friendly neighborhood board gamer, and this is Devin Talks Tabletop, the YouTube channel where the games are made up, and what I say doesn't matter. I'm here after 2 full playthroughs to share my thoughts about Endeavor Deep Sea. This is a redesign or return to Endeavor Age of Sail from Grand Gamers Guild and Burnt Island Games. These two partners are coming back at it for this new rendition, and I like it quite a lot. It's probably my favorite game that Burnt Island Games has done in their lineup since Into Deep, which is my favorite of the catalog. So I like this a lot. And one thing that I think is special about it is the variable board. I think that when you have a variable board, there's 2 ways that it can go. It can take place in the setup, which means it does create a unique, different game every experience, but it does require a little bit more effort on the front end. Or it could happen, as it does here in Endeavor Deep Sea, where you are actually building out the board as you go. So typically, for example, over here on the impact board, you can see this is Mission 2, Maps and Charts. And so there's only 4 tiles, 3 in the surface zone, and then 1 in the epicologic zone. That's the second level, as you can see here. And it goes all the way down to 5 at the abyssopelagic. There's only 4 that are available whenever you start the game, and part of that process is exploring new tiles. So that means that the maintenance of creating this variable experience happens like piecemeal. It happens a little bit at a time, which means it's never really burdensome to the players at the table. It's more of just a natural unfolding of how the game functions. And I like that a lot. It creates a different experience every single time, because whenever you decide that you're going to go ahead and do a sonar action and look at some of the next zones or the next depths that you can descend to, that is going to take place in drawing 2 and then getting to pick 1. So depending on what the sonar section says, if it says 1 to 2, that means I can take from the first and the second zone there, and then I can go ahead and pick which one I want. This game is a track movement and place, like action selection game. And I say track movement in the sense that you have 4 different tracks here. You kind of have like your popularity or your favor, your leadership, that is going to determine the value of the types of crew members that you can bring on. So as you can see here, whoopsie daisy, I knocked the board. I'm so sorry, box. Not board, box. I can't even talk today. I'm unable to communicate effectively. You've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 markers here that coincide with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Whenever you are in a particular column, you are able to hire anybody from that column and below, and that dictates the composition of the crew that you can bring. The higher they are, the stronger they are in the value. When you get to this 5th level here, you can even get victory points associated with them once you've upgraded them. So this mentor here automatically boosts you 2 on this requisite track, and then you can upgrade immediately 2 other of your crew members, which can be a very strong move. And then if you ever upgrade them themselves, every single crew member has what is on the upgraded side down at the bottom, so that you know at first glance what you're able to accomplish or achieve by upgrading or improving that particular crew member. So that's the first track, is the acquisition of crewmates to join you in your endeavor. The second one here is the accumulation of these discs. These discs are how you do actions in the game. So as you can see right here, this at the end of the game, all of these different crewmates had actions filled up, which means they're unable to be used until they're cleared. So the more discs you have, the more actions that you can activate on your particular crew members, whether it's your team leader or whether it's someone else. And so as you fill that up, you perform actions out on the board. Those actions might be including placing down more tokens if you're going to a sonar location, or you're researching papers, or if you're conserving. all of those things require an additional disc. So you need discs not only to activate your crewmates, but you also need discs in order to complete certain actions on the board. So gaining these discs and then using them is a vital part of the game. Just as vital is this third column, which is where at the beginning of every round, after you've recruited your new crewmate, after you have gained new discs, you get to pool discs, a certain number of discs, off of the people that you've hired. So at this point, in the game, this particular player in red right here has their cube in the fourth column, which means they get to pull 4 discs off of people that they have activated previously. Now this one that remains, this is locked, which means you cannot use this character because the disc space is not empty. It has to be empty for you to activate it. The only way, once a round has started, to clear a spot that has a disc on it is if they're not upgraded yet. So this blue side right here is the base side, and this gold side is the upgraded side. So if this skipper was fully activated, had already been used, and wasn't cleared off during the refresh phase, then they're not going to be able to be used unless there's some other benefit that they can use, possibly off of a research paper or something. However, the reef diver, as long as you find a way to upgrade a crew member, as soon as you upgrade, the disc is discarded, but it means that the crewmate that is left in an upgraded fashion is now clear once again if you want to do that action. So pulling discs off of your crew is sometimes and frequently just as, if not more important, than gaining discs. So the discs allow you to perform actions, but refreshing them off of your crewmates means that you can use those crewmates once again. And then the final one is not to be underestimated. It is the ability to move and to dive. The gear symbol here means that each ship that you have can move the matching number of icons in terms of spaces. So if I have a red ship here, based off of this, I can move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces based off of where I was on the board. However, it also means that's the maximum depth that I can go there. So even though somebody has explored a 5, because my track marker is only on 4, that means the lowest that I can go is to this 4th section here. I cannot even go to the abyssal plane. I have to wait until I can upgrade this further on the track. In Endeavor Deep Sea, there are several things you're doing to get points. If you can see on the player boards here, 2, 4, 7, and 10. As you progress into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th tiers, you are going to be getting those points for every marker that's in that tier. The other way that you're scoring points is over on the impact board. Frequently, this impact board here will have a diagram or a visual layout that you'll be able to match, and based off of what is happening in the game. For instance, anytime you see a bonus like this star here, you will be able to place a token down. And whenever you have these cubes down, eventually they may make it over into spots that give you points. So, the yellow player got 7 points at the end of the game for the 3 yellow and the 2 orange based off of this scoring pattern. So you have the tiers of where your different tracks are at the end of the game. You have the impact board. And then after that, you also have the potential for points from these goals. Every mission is going to have different goals. This has 3 different goals where you get 1 point per whatever task you've done. And then also it's got 1st and 2nd place. So for the players that do the most and the second most within each of those goals is going to get bonus points. That's pretty much the scoring layout or the scoring spread that you get in a game of Endeavor Deep Sea. You've got your player board, you've got the impact board, and then you've got the points from the goals that you will tally up at the end of a game. It's really a efficiency puzzle in terms of how to best move through the tracks, how to best utilize whatever crewmates you've hired, and how to determine when you're out on the board what is the most prominent or the most valuable use of your actions, because you've got to both consider that you need discs to activate your people and you need discs out to activate actions. So sometimes you may not want to do an action if it makes you use some of the discs that you need for activating your other people. It's a little bit of a decision space that requires some thinking and some careful planning across the course of your turn to make sure that you're able to maximize what you're doing on the board. And then again, you start off with a smaller amount, and you as the player group can choose to branch out. There are certain places where you'll get bonuses if you have either all or part of the discs that link up in a particular area. You or you and another player will get bonuses from that. Comboing between the impact board and your player board, and making sure sometimes a boost for one is not helpful if it's not going to put you into the next zone unless you can find another way to get one more boost. But sometimes a boost of 2 might get you perfectly into a new zone that's going to get you higher points, and it's going to really give you a particular advantage or upgraded efficiency to the engine that you're crafting here. I think it's really clever. I like the artwork. The artwork is fetching to me, and even just the tile art creates a really interesting tableau of an underwater scene. You have the surface zone, which has islands and other things that kind of demarcate that you've got exploration vessels and other ships and stuff that you can mess with, or even maybe stuff, flora and fauna, that are going to be more at the surface level. And then as you get deeper, you really kind of see a different look. You've got crashed shipwrecks here. You've got underwater research facilities. You've got kind of like anchoraged spots there that are underneath the sea star. And then you start to get other kind of like ocean phenomena that maybe a marine biologist is familiar with, or someone who's just an avid fan of kind of like the underwater ecosystem. You've got vortexes here where you might see some very righteous turtles. You've got jellyfish blooms. You've got thermal vents here where you've got lava coming up from underneath, and you've got some really interesting, crazy animals. And then as you get down into the deepest, darkest areas in the 4th and the 5th row, you see a lot of crazy stuff that is synonymous with those depths. And that's the really cool part of this game, I think, is seeing both how the board builds out, and then also how you as the player interact with that board based off of a combination of the variable setup and then also the mission and its associated goals. The goals of the mission are definitely going to dictate how you might want to path your way through the space that you're exploring and that you're building here. As I said, this is from Burnt Island Games and Grand Gamer Guild. I really like this. It's a lot of fun. I think that the visuals are good. I know that Burnt Island Games, this is just prototype, so it's not in its final form. It's going to upgrade. It's going to get cooler. It's going to get nicer. And Burnt Island Games does a really good job of creating quality components that are exciting, and then also good storage solutions to where you can get this game to the table and get it played and have a good time in an easier fashion. I'm looking forward to seeing how the campaign does. I hope to see some of you guys there. It's definitely one that I've got my eye on. Hope you guys have a good one. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and maybe me or maybe someone from the Burnt Island Game team will hop into the comments and answer them for us. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.